Hey everyone, welcome to Steph and Key TV. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps our channel. And let me know what you thought of today's video in the comments below. Alright, Beverly Hills, let's get into it. So the last episode we see Sutton go into Crystal's room without Crystal answering. She just knocks and we don't hear Crystal say come in, but Sutton just walks right in. But we pick up the next day, so we don't know like what happened yet, but we pick up the next day and Garcelle and Rinna again. They're always like the first ones. So they're up and just talking about how well they've been sleeping. Crystal comes down though and she's like she only got like 2 hours of sleep. Erica comes down and they're all talking about like the Sutton situation, and Erica's just like, I feel bad for you because you've been getting a lot of heat and it's not warranted. And it wasn't, because Crystal had nothing to do with that joke. She was trying to get Sutton in on the joke, and Sutton, it went over her head and she took it all out on the wrong person and screamed at her in front of everyone. And then Garcelle, is Sutton's friend, so she tried to stick up for her. She's like, she has a lot going on with the house, and she's just dealing with a lot. And Erica was like, well, that's no right for her to take it out on Crystal. And Garcelle agreed. She's like, you shouldn't take it out on anybody. But they're just like, yeah, so don't really know what's going on with that. And Rin is talking about like Sutton's emotions. And then we see like, last season, Sutton was a lot. Sutton was a lot. She was a lot last season, and she's even worse this season. I'm gonna keep saying it. It's a lot to deal with. But Kyle comes down and Rinna's gonna do yoga. Nobody wants to do that. Erica's gonna stick her feet in the jacuzzi. Kyle's gonna relax. And Garcelle and Crystal are gonna go into town and get some coffee. So Rinna and Kyle and Erica are eating breakfast. Rinna is gonna be the brave one and go down to Sutton's room to check on her, and they're like, good luck with that. And so she goes to Sutton's room. Yeah, Sutton has a roller thing. I have like this jade roller. I had to get it out. I had to. Sutton has a roller thing. And like Rinna goes to her door, she knocks, she waits for Sutton to open the door, and then Rinna goes inside and asks how she's doing. Sutton's already rolling. But hers was very different. It's like, it kind of looks like this. Like, it's long like this, but it's like this shape. Whatever, cylinder. It's this shape. And Rinna's like, okay, what's going on? And Sutton's like, I'm angry, because she's like, I felt like something was going on behind my back, and it was. And it was this joke, and I wasn't in on it. But Sutton, you weren't the only one. Kyle wasn't in on it either. And come on, let's look at the behavior. Kyle had no idea what was going on. She finally figured it out towards the end, like Sutton. She was not in on the joke. Sutton really thought everybody was talking about them because she's paranoid, because she's been acting terrible. So she thought everybody was talking about her. She blew it way up, screamed at the wrong person. Kyle didn't know about the joke. How did she react? Even keel, calm. And when she found out, she like laughed about it. Like, so Rinna's like, well, I don't. So Sutton starts rolling. And Rinna's like, are you rolling every time you feel like you're gonna cry? And Sutton's like, yes. And Rinna's like, just cry. It's okay to cry. And she's like, I'm tired of crying. So then Kyle comes down and she's like, are you okay? And Rinna was like, I was just telling Sutton it's okay to cry. And Kyle's like, she's been crying. Like, everybody is over it, over this behavior. And Kyle's just like, you're being overly sensitive, and I felt like you were being irrational. And then Sutton's like, well, let me just add this to the list of things that my friends are calling me. And Rinna's like, well, don't get defensive about it. And Kyle's like, yeah, defensive. Add defensive onto the list. Terrible. Like, no sympathy. Yeah, add defensive onto the list. To your long ass list. That's so mean. But it was so fun. Oh, Sutton. So Crystal and Garcelle are having coffee. Garcelle is just asking Crystal, like, what's been going on. She's like, I heard you and Sutton had a thing. And Crystal's like, yeah, well, she tells her about the situation with her, Kyle, and Sutton, and how Sutton really came at her and just didn't want to talk about race, and we're all equal, and we're all the same. And Garcelle's like, no, we're not. So she's really, like, hearing Crystal's side, where she's coming from. And Crystal's just like, I feel like she thinks that I keep coming at her, but I was just, speaking my piece about how I felt about the situation. And anyways, Sutton cut her off and jumped in and was like, I don't want to talk about this. And it's just like a mess. So Garcelle's like, yeah, I mean, she's just going through a lot, and I don't know, it seems like you two still need to, like, resolve some things, so maybe you'll figure it out, but, hopefully we can have a fun day. And Crystal's like, I really hope so. And Garcelle's like, yeah, I forgot my sage. And she's like, well, then I blame you for all of this. And it probably is Garcelle's fault. You should have brought the sage. Saged the whole house. Saged Sutton like 5 times. And maybe they wouldn't have fought. Meanwhile, Kyle is talking to Sutton. She's like, I feel like you should apologize. And Sutton's like, for what? Wait, I forgot. For what? I'm not sorry for anything. And I'm like, well, you should be sorry for screaming at Crystal for no reason. You kicked me. And I'm like, she kicked you to let you in on the joke. You were so mad at me being left out. Crystal was trying to kick you to let you know, hey, don't tell Kathy, because we're trying to prank her too. She was trying to let you in on the joke, and you blew up as if Crystal had done, who like came over and kicked you with some cleats or something. Some soccer cleats. Like really kicked you really good. And then that was all she did. No, she was trying to get you in on the joke, because Kathy started the joke and left you out of the joke. God, she's so annoying. So the ladies are downstairs. They're waiting for everyone to come downstairs so they can get ready to go on their boat ride. Kathy comes down with her mic pack. I'm like, nobody helped her put it on. And she's just walking downstairs with all her stuff in her mic pack. She's hilarious. We finally get to the boat, and then they show flashbacks of the horrible previous boat rides they had. The one with Kathy screaming. No, Kyle. See, Kathy, Kyle, Kim, it's all the same. Kyle is screaming at Brandy, Erica and Dorit screaming at each other on another boat ride. And then they showed the good boat ride where Lisa was flashing like spread open eagle dancing in front of all the husbands. It was a mess. But at least they had some fun boat rides. And I think this is going to be a good one. When we get on, Sutton is like asking for a drink and he's pouring the liquor and she's like, keep going, keep going. I was like, all right, Sutton. She's about to get a little toasted. I like that. Then the ladies freak out because this bird is like flying over, like trying to attack them. And they're looking up, screaming. I'm like, that is the last thing you should be doing. Looking up with your mouths open when a bird is flying overhead. Like, what if he poops in your mouth? That's gross. Like, close your mouths and cover yourselves so you don't get pooped on. Finally, it just like lands on the boat, like away from them, and they like calm down. But Erica and Dorit are talking about Sutton because most of the ladies are sitting on these seats, and then Sutton is kind of off to the side. And there's like a seat in between her and Kathy, so they're just sitting quietly. And Dorit and Erica are talking about like what's going on with Sutton, and then Erica's like, well, I'm just gonna ask her. And she's like, Sutton, are you okay? And like, what's going on? And Sutton's like, what? You want me to come over and lay across y'all? I'm just sitting, I'm quiet. And it's pretty much like, just leave her alone, because like as soon as she turns away, you can see her like wipe. She has glasses on, but you can see her wipe, and it's just like, it's one of those things when you're like not okay and then someone's asked you if you're okay and it just makes you cry. I feel like she was getting on that verge of about ready to cry. So I'm like, just leave her alone. But Sutton is ready to talk to Crystal so they can squash it and have a good rest of their day. So immediately Crystal and Sutton go upstairs, and immediately Sutton is using her soothing roller thing. And Crystal's like, okay. And immediately Sutton goes into victim mode. She's like, being called ridiculous last night did not make me feel good. And it's Crystal, her only responses were like, okay. And she's like, and I feel like you've been very abrupt with me. And Crystal, she laughs a little and is like, okay. And the reason, come on. The reason why Crystal laughs is because she's not like belting out laughing, but she laughs like, okay. She's laughing because you're talking about Crystal being abrupt with you when you screamed at her in front of everyone and made it seem like she did this horrible thing to you when all she did was kick you under the seat to let you in on the joke. Sutton. So Crystal's just like, okay. And Sutton's like, well, I'm obviously really upset, and sarcasm, this isn't the time for sarcasm. Girl, I want to call you something else, but really? Who are you to tell her anything about what she's doing? And she wasn't being sarcastic. I'm sorry, but she laughed because you're being ridiculous. Sarcasm isn't really the time. Like, what are you, her mother? Like, calm down, Sutton. Crystal is being like way better than me. Way better than me. I could not deal with this type of behavior. Like, Sutton just really flipped it around and made herself the victim because Crystal called her ridiculous, which she was being. Like a child. They had to yank you up and correct you because you were being like out of control, screaming at everybody, mainly Crystal, and Crystal didn't even do the joke. I just want to flicker. Alright, so there's a lot to unpack here. So Crystal says the same thing I did. She's like, I wasn't even a part of the joke. I tried to get you in on the joke, and then you screamed at me and told everybody that I kicked you. And she's like, well, you did kick me. And it was like, girl, calm down. She's like, I was trying to let you in on the joke. And she's like, Crystal says, I'm not a doctor, but you seem very manic and crazy. And she's like, I can't deal with crazy people. And Sutton's like, don't call me crazy. Like, that's not very nice. Which I agree. Like, I don't feel like it's very nice to label someone like that as crazy. I mean, you could call her a bitch, which I feel like she's being, but crazy, mental health and mental illness, I don't feel like should be flung around like that. And there's been multiple times when I've been talking about this situation with Sutton where I've wanted to call her that, but I've stopped myself because I don't feel like it's nice or fair to label someone as crazy. So I did not like that. But I mean, this is how Crystal feels because she's like, you show me nothing but you're an untrustworthy person. And like, I don't really want to have anything to do with you. Pretty much. And Sutton's like, well, you don't know me enough to say I'm untrustworthy. And Crystal's like, well, this is all you've shown me is that you're crazy. She's like, all that I've shown you? Yes. All that you've shown me. Which is not entirely true. They did have that moment where they connected about their fathers. But like, other than that, like, Sutton's just been on the pounce with Crystal. Like, there's no break for Crystal. I feel like Sutton's constantly coming after her and then expecting apologies. Like, girl, are you ridiculous? Yes. Are you ridiculous? Yeah, I had to stop myself. Like, it's an impulse for some people to just call someone crazy because we're just used to it, but it's not right. She's not crazy, but she's being a very ridiculous person. She's being overly dramatic and so ridiculous. And I don't blame Crystal for how she feels. I just don't. I do wish she did not call her crazy. Other than that, like, I don't blame Crystal for how she feels. Sutton has been nothing but a nightmare to her, except for that one little moment they had. Like, I would not be able to handle someone like that. I just wouldn't. And so Sutton starts crying, doing the rolling thing, and she talks about leaving her forever home. So I do feel like Crystal's is being quiet the whole time, just listening. And I do feel bad for her. Like, you just, like we said, like, it's never that thing. It's always something deeper, right? So she's dealing with a lot. Crystal, however, in her confessional was like, that's no reason to treat someone like you've been treating them. And I don't really care, pretty much. Like, you leaving your home is no reason for you to treat me how you've been treating me. Which I can't fault her for feeling that way. I did feel some compassion for Sutton. I felt some compassion for Sutton, because I'm sure it's a lot for her. But it still is no reason to be attacking Crystal the way she's been attacking her, and then expecting her to all of a sudden feel compassion for you. Sutton, no, that's not how this works. You have to treat people with kindness. Crystal's like, I don't know most of these women and they've been nothing but kind to me. So it's like something going on with you, Sutton. Like, you just have this thing with Crystal. Maybe because she was speaking about her race and her background and that was a trigger for you, but like ever since then you've been gunning for her. So like Crystal's like, I'm open to moving forward, and Sutton's like, maybe Tahoe's just not our place. They're like, let's just squash it. And they go downstairs and Lord, I need let's just hold this here for a minute. Whew. So they come back from the boat trip and the chef has prepared homemade cookies and donuts. Like, this is why I need to be rich. I want to go out on like a day adventure on my trip and come back to like homemade cookies and donuts. Vegan, of course. But like, come on. That's the life. That's why I need to be rich. So I can just have someone make me a whole bunch of food. Oh, so Kyle and Dorit are playing bocce ball. Dorit's super competitive. Like, she claims that she never works out, but we get flashbacks of her like whooping everybody's butt and everything. I guess she's just naturally skilled at stuff. The ladies come down for dinner. Lisa's the first one again, and Garcelle and Kathy are downstairs. I do not like Garcelle's hair. I do not like how it's pinned back and her ears are poking out. Like, just poking out. I don't like it. I don't like it. Kyle's like the last one to come down, and Rinna's talking about her pants, and she starts singing and dancing about her pants. Kyle's pants, and then Kyle starts dancing with her. See, I love that. If I'm singing and dancing about something, it's usually food. And somebody joins in on the dance, that's my friend. That's my kind of friend. I love that. I love that. And I love that little moment they had. It was funny. So they're all sitting down and waiting for dinner to be ready. Kyle sneezes and she's talking about her stitches. I keep forgetting that she had her nose job. Yeah, her nose done. And so, like, she's talking about their stitches in her nose. And then Garcelle asks everyone who's had their nose done. And I'm just like, so it's like another question I would never ask, but I'm glad she did because I want to know. And Dorit says she's never had a nose job. Shady editors on Bravo put up the side-by-side from her from like, I can't remember when, but you could tell she's young. And then for her now, and you can clearly see there's a difference in her nose. Now, Kyle even says in her confessional, like, contouring works great, but like none of us believe that she hasn't had her nose job done. Like, come on, Dorit. She should have just kept her mouth shut and everybody would have been fine. But as soon as she said that, everybody was like looking at each other like, did she just really say that she's never had a nose job? So the ladies sit down to dinner. Crystal's not coming to dinner. Sutton apologizes to the group for her behavior and says that they didn't deserve that behavior last night, which I agree. And I wish Crystal had been there, because I feel like that's the apology Sutton should have gave instead of asking for one for being called ridiculous, which she was being ridiculous. So she tells them she's sorry, she's just going through a lot because of her forever home and she felt left out and it triggered her. She gave a good apology. I wish Crystal had been there for that. But can we go back to like Sutton telling Crystal that she was shy? Like when they were on the boat, she was like, I'm shy. It may not seem that way. And I'm like, can we rewind? Because like last season, this shy Sutton had no problem telling Teddy that she was boring in front of a group full of people at the table. She had no problem talking about how all the women dressed and how inappropriate and Raggedy Ann type how they dressed. And even though like Sutton's clothing is no matter how like couture it is, like, no girl, no. So like she was not shy last season when she was telling people off. Like she told Dorit off, like she was not shy at all, and now all of a sudden she's shy. I'm not buying that. I'm sorry. I feel like I would believe Sutton was shy if she wasn't so bold about how she felt about everybody else. But as soon as it's about her, then all of a sudden she's shy and she's going through a lot. That I can't get behind. And I do appreciate her apologizing to the group. I'm done. I'm done with Sutton. I'm sorry, y'all, but done. What is wrong with Lisa Rinna? She starts talking about, like, her relationships with women and how they haven't been that good. And Garcelle's like, I agree. Then she gets into like how everybody's been calling her a bad friend, which she was, and how like she brings up the story with Harry and how he went drinking with a friend years ago, and then that night his friend went and sexually attacked a woman. You can't say the R word on YouTube for some reason. So, and we're all like, everybody's just like, and my mouth dropped because I was not expecting the story to go there. And she said, so the man, Harry's friend, was arrested, and then all the friends were like, well, we need to support him. And Harry was like, no, I'm not supporting him. And so Garcelle's like, so your point of this story that you're telling is that like you couldn't blindly support Denise. So like, Garcelle in her confessional was like, you can't compare this story to anything that has to do with Denise, and you should never tell that story again. I agree. Like, Rinna, what is wrong with you? Like, she's like reaching for the stars to pull one out to make it make sense to how she treated Denise last season, and it's just bizarre. And nobody brought up like it's just frustrating because I feel like everybody's like making it seem like Garcelle's coming down on Lisa so hard, but Lisa's the one who brought it up. Lisa wanted to meet with Garcelle to bring up the Denise situation the first time, and now she's bringing it up at the table to compare it to Harry's friend attacking a woman, and like Lisa's the weird one bringing it up, not Garcelle. Garcelle's sticking up for her friend. She's being a good friend, which is more than I can say for Lisa Rinna. Lisa is out there. And now Lisa is trying to say that she had stuff on Denise that she's never told anyone and she'll never tell anyone. Girl, shut up. If you had stuff on Denise, you would have blabbed it all over town on every single episode. Nobody believes you. The way you treated her, nobody believes you, Lisa. Nobody. Not even your friends. I'm sorry. They're lying to you because they don't believe you. I need some rolling after this. My God. So after dinner, the ladies go downstairs to play some games. They're just having so much fun. Oh, it looks so much fun. I love like foosball and like they were playing pool. They had paddle tennis. They were just having a really good time. So then Lisa convinces Sutton to get into the pool with her. The rest of the ladies are playing Jenga. Nobody else wants to get in the pool. Finally, they're like, Lisa, back off. She will not back down. So finally she does. So then she convinces Sutton to do like a synchronized swimming performance with her. Like she tries a little move and she was like, that was harder than I thought. But they do get a routine down and they call the ladies in and they did a really good job. Like they really practiced. I thought it was really good. So the ladies are chatting for a bit and then they're really ready to go upstairs. But then Crystal comes down and she's saying goodnight to everyone. And Erica's like, where you been? And they're just like all wondering where she's been all night. But everybody goes upstairs except for Crystal and Kyle. So she tells Kyle that like Sutton, like we saw the previous night, Sutton just walked into Crystal's room and Crystal was naked. So she said, I was getting ready to go to bed. I had showered. I was like naked in my room. Sutton comes in and brings in my coat, just walks in and I'm naked. And she said when Sutton came in, she just dropped to the ground to cover her body. And she said Sutton came in and was like, well, I don't know what's going on in here. And I'm just going to bring you your coat. And then like runs off. And to make it seem like, well, I don't know what you're doing in here. I'm like, even if like whatever she was doing, it's her room. It's her body. She can do whatever she wants. So I feel like it was unnecessary for Sutton to say anything. But Sutton had also been drinking that night, I believe. So she probably wasn't thinking rationally. But Kyle says, like, well, why didn't you say anything? Like, why didn't you say anything before? Why didn't you say anything on the boat? Like, why didn't you say anything? And Crystal was just like, I just kind of tried to put it, like, behind me. And, like, I didn't want to bring it up again at dinner and trigger her again. Cause she's like, every time I say anything, it's been triggering her and it's ruined everybody's night. So I just wanted to keep the peace. But she said, like, it really bothered her. And, like, at first I was like, okay, like, who drops to the floor to cover their body? Like, when they're naked and somebody comes in? That's not a reaction that is just like, oh, I don't want anyone to see me naked. Because you know, people have commented and like, well, why didn't she just grab a robe and cover herself? But I feel like if you're dropping to the floor to cover your body, my thinking is she either thought that Sutton was coming in and then bringing other people in with her, like the camera crew, and she just was not prepared for that at all, or there's some kind of trauma, because nobody is just covering their body in a fetal position unless there's some kind of trauma that happened to her that she doesn't want to talk about. Or she thought that Sutton was coming in and like they fought, a camera crew is with them at all times. So they could have easily walked in and not know that she was naked and just come on in. And she doesn't want them to see, this camera crew to see her naked. So I feel like this could have been avoided if Sutton had just knocked and waited to hear come in. And if you don't hear come in, you just leave. And I understand why Kyle's confused as to why she didn't bring it up earlier, but I'm sorry. I'm still on Crystal's side on this. People deal with things differently and at their own times, and she wasn't able to really process it because she was still having to deal with Sutton about other issues. So I just hope it's not trauma, because that would be awful, and I hope it's just that she thought like the camera crew was about to come in and she just freaked out and did everything she could to cover her body. And I'm hoping that's just what it was. So Sutton stops by Crystal's room to make peace. This time she waits for Crystal to say come in before she walks in. So Sutton starts off, you know, like, I didn't do a good job of including you into the group and I'm sorry. And Crystal just like tells her how she feels about the other night, and Sutton's like, oh, I'm sorry, like, I was trying to bring you your coat, and she's like, yeah, but she's like, when someone drops down naked, and you're just like, well, what are you doing over there? So it was miscommunication. Crystal just like, you know, it was creepy and weird, and Sutton's like, well, I don't think it was creepy or weird, I think it was awkward because you were naked. But and then Sutton, in Sutton's confessional, she says, I don't think there's anything creepy or weird about someone knocking and bringing you your coat unless it's a women's prison. And I'm like, Sutton, shut up. It's not creepy, but it is weird that you knocked, didn't wait for a response, and just walked in while someone was naked. And instead of being like, oh crap, and then leaving, you like just proceeded to go in and give her her coat. And then say an off-cuff remark and then leave. That's weird. And it was like uncalled for. And this could have been prevented if you had just not walked in when nobody said come in. So like, I do feel like they were trying to make peace. And Sutton just like, I'm sorry, like I didn't mean anything by it. And you know, like I'm just trying to make things better. And they're like, they squash it and they hug, even though Sutton's not a hugger. And I feel like they made peace, but it just kind of sucks that Sutton was making those remarks in her confessional when you knocked on someone's door, didn't wait for them to say come in, and you just walked in while they were naked. So I feel like it just could have been prevented. So I don't think that Sutton was trying to be any type of way. I just wish she had used her Southern manners and not walked in on someone without hearing the words come in. That's all. So the ladies leave the beautiful lodge, and then it shows 4 days later, all the ladies get a text from Erica about her filing for divorce from Tom, even though she's been talking all these past episodes about how great he is and how he lets her be her. Now she's filing for divorce. And they're all pretending to act like they didn't know. I'm like, if they're such your close friends, like all of y'all knew. You knew this was happening. She's been talking to you about it for probably months. But they have to put on a show. So she's filing for the divorce, and it ends on to be continued. And that's a wrap for this episode. Y'all, Beverly Hills has been giving me so much that these videos have been way longer than I intended them to be. So I'm sorry if they're super long, but they've just been giving me a lot. So I'm doing the best I can to keep them short. It's not working out. But I hope you enjoyed this episode anyways, and I hope you give this video a thumbs up, please and thank you. And hit the notification bell so you're in the know when I release a new video, and subscribe. I'd love to have you a part of Steph and Key TV. Stay safe, everyone. Bye.